Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for the regular Monday this and that video, which is, if you're new, is a weekly vlog that I do where I talk about several different subjects to keep you updated on various things going on around here, to lead you back to old videos, let you know some videos yet to come, and to answer some questions that have come in through the week and whatever else I feel like talking about. So let's get started on the topics of today. The very first thing I want to talk about has to do with the shirt that I'm wearing right here, and this is Southern Raised. This is a band that you can find on YouTube. They are a family band and they are excellent. I've followed them for years, and even though I didn't used to be into bluegrass country style music, I notice as I get older I really am finding myself being drawn to that more, especially the kind that is clean and wholesome. And they are a Christian band, just so you know. Even though they have some covers they've done on some classic secular country music, they do have a lot of their own original work, and they do some gospel tunes and much more. And so I just wanted to show my support for them because they're a very talented family. It's two sisters and a brother, and then the husband of one of the sisters that is in there. And I really enjoy their music, and so does Jackson. So even though I hardly have time to just listen to music anymore, one thing about having my grandson that's been actually helping me to find moments of calm is in the afternoon before mom comes to pick him up. He starts to get a little tired and cranky. All I have to do is turn on some music and he's good. He loves music. And Southern Raised is one of the ones I play for him the most, and he just loves them. He will sit there for an hour and just listen to music by them and some of the other groups that I'll follow, like Home Free and a few others. But Southern Raised is actually right there at the top for me because of their faith and what they do, and they're just amazing talent. So anyway, what I'm going to do is link to their YouTube channel down below. So it's totally free to just follow and listen to their music if you just go to their channel. And I hope you enjoy their music as much as I do. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the other topics I wanted to go over. And I want to start with the quilt squares. So last week's This and That video, I didn't show any quilt squares because we didn't get down to the post office that week, and so I had nothing new to show you. But when a couple days after I shot that video, Patrick did get down there, and there were 6 new squares in there. So I'm showing some pictures right here, and I want to thank Betty and Deb and Sherry and Deborah and Lori for sending those in. And I will try to keep you updated in once a week at least on how it's going, and once I have enough squares, I'll let everybody know that I got enough to finish the quilt and get it put together. Now, if this is the first you've heard of this, it's a collaboration with my subscribers, and we're making a Rain Country Crazy quilt. And it's 10-inch squares that are fully completed, lined, backed, and quilted, and then I'm going to put them all together once I get them all. And if you want more details on that, please go check out the video I'll be putting down below in the description box, where I give more details about the 10-inch squares, so on and so forth. And again, any design you want to put on there. It does not have to be a specific design, color, fabric. Cotton obviously is preferable, but it doesn't have to be a specific print or anything like that. It's whatever means something most to you. And if you can put your name on it if you want to, I would really love that, because that makes it even more personalized. And if you don't sew, please know I do have other collaborations coming up that will be photo collaborations, which also does bring me back to the craft collaboration, that is crocheted items and sewing items. Anything that you have made based off my instructional videos that you have sewn or crocheted, please send your pictures. I could use some more. I've had some people send me several from each person, but I would like to have a broader selection from more people before I put that video together. And again, if you don't sew or crochet, I'll have more photo collaborations in regards to herbs or extracts and tinctures, vinegars, or whatever. There'll be other types of collaborations that I'm sure somebody can find to be a part of. I'll let you know the details when I get around to that. I want to get the craft one done first before I decide which direction I'll go with the next one. Okay, so moving on to some other topics. Let's talk about the garden updates. Well, here it is, end of May, and it's still very, very cold here. In fact, just outside of town, about 2 days ago, it was snowing again. Very, very odd. And in fact, I don't know that we've ever had snow past April, and even snow in April is very, very odd. That is just not heard of in our location. And as such, I've been holding off planting a lot of my annuals because it's just been too cold. Now I did early May, which is usually when I direct sow my beans. I did go ahead and plant some of those in pots in some more protected areas. And just this morning, I finally seen one coming up out of the pot. One. That's it. I think it was last week I planted some zucchini and pumpkin in a pot in the greenhouse, and then yesterday I put some more zucchini. I have 2 different varieties out there, and so far nothing's popped up in there either as far as those go. But my tomatoes, little at a time, have been snapping back. I think I'll be able to at least take some of them and put them in the ground here soon in the greenhouse only. But some of my herbs have completely died. That I had nice little healthy seedlings like my mullein. There might be one left out there, but it's very tiny and it hasn't grown anymore. But the rest of my mullein seedlings all died. And even though I moved them from the house to the greenhouse, it still was too cold for them. So, and I don't have any more seed, which was really a bummer. And because I was really wanting to grow that one this year. So as far as annuals go, I have very little that's doing good. Some of my calendula has been popping up and looking okay, but again, that's planted in pots in more protected areas that stay warmer. And let's see, what's a couple other annuals? My nasturtiums are doing good, but again, I always start those in pots right up against the greenhouse, and they're facing south, and so they're catching that sun when it does shine, and they're staying a little more protected and warm because they're right up against the greenhouse. So those have been popping up, but I'm going to wait longer than usual to actually transplant them into the ground because of this cold. My potatoes are doing good, thankfully, but they should be farther along than they are right now. I got some free bachelor button seeds, so I decided to start those in the greenhouse, and they're doing beautifully. So I think I'll be able to plant those out just fine. But most of my other annuals have just been, even my lettuce, that lettuce I planted, not a single seed germinated that I planted a few weeks ago. So the other day I went out and planted some more, and hopefully it's warm enough. I mean, lettuce likes cool, so but even then, it's still been too cold for the lettuce. I'm bringing all this up not just to give you updates, but to let you know just some things we're rethinking, let alone the fact that we keep thinking about closing in more of the backyard area to make more protected environments from the cold and the heavy rain. It's not just the cold, it's the heavier than usual rains for this time of the year that is just making everything so soggy and causing some things to just rot in the ground rather than grow like they should. So I'm looking at most of my perennials, not all, but most of my perennials are doing pretty good. My echinacea is still hardly growing. It's growing, but very, very slowly. But all my mints are doing fine. In fact, I just harvested some catnip yesterday and got that dried up, and I'll be doing some more here soon. I'll be starting on my peppermint probably today or tomorrow. But I should be farther along even with those. And as you know, the rhubarb's been doing good. And what I did do with the rhubarb is I did break off the flowering stalks. Now that I've kind of changed my mind on what I want to do, I was going to collect seed, but I changed my mind. So I broke the stalks off so it can continue to put out bigger and more stalks. My apple trees are looking good. I've got blossoms all over them, so that's good. But none of my trees in the front yard have blossoms on them. They either never got any or they started to, like my quince tree. And now I went out and checked this morning. They all turned black and shriveled up. So no quince this year because the cold killed the blossoms, which is a bummer. But again, coming back to the rhubarb, this is where I'm going to depend on my rhubarb to add that tartness to whatever I need it for. So anyway, rethinking some of this stuff, like I said, besides boxing some more things in, I'm really starting to lean to more perennials. So I'm probably going to get some more berries, more raspberries and blueberries, and plant them out in the main garden area and just let those do good out there, because all my berries are doing good. They seem to be doing as they normally would for this time of the year. My grapes are way behind, way behind. I don't have any leaves on my grapes at all yet. I have little tiny buds finally showing, but I should at least have some leaves out there, but nothing. And so it's likely I may not get any grapes this year. We'll see. But I'm looking at focusing more on some berries and other types of perennials that I know I can depend on, even as this weather keeps getting colder and colder for us every year. And then of course, even then, I'll still want to look at adding more protection. Oh yes, I also have corn started in the greenhouse, and they're all about this big right now. But I'm not going to plant them out until I absolutely have to, because every time I do that with corn and plant it out too soon and then it gets cold, they turn red, purple. They may grow once it warms up, or they may not, or they turn out really wonky. Again, I bring all this up because especially those of you who are experiencing the same kind of weather conditions we are, where each year it keeps getting colder and the growing season keeps getting shorter and shorter, you may need to rethink, no matter how many years you've been doing it the same way or growing this particular thing, you may need to rethink what you're growing and or how you're growing it in order to still get some kind of harvest. It's actually been pretty depressing to me to see how behind a lot of my stuff is. But when I start to feel that way, I look at what I do have coming in. Like most of my herbs, I've been able to harvest quite a bit of those. And I know those are doing good. I know I can depend on some of this stuff. And again, just rethinking some of the things that we're growing that we're doing good. Okay, what can I grow to replace that doesn't mind the cooler weather that we're having? And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this, and we just need to be ready and always be learning something new. Gardening is never a thing. It doesn't matter if you're a master gardener or you've been doing it since you were a little teeny tiny tyke. We always have to learn something new, especially as the weather changes or we meet new challenges. It's always going to be that way. All right, now while I'm still on the topic of gardening, I want to bring up a couple things in regards to calendula and lilacs. I'm going to be shooting a video on lilacs and the benefits of, but it's probably going to be a few weeks before that comes out. And for some of you, your lilacs have already been blooming like crazy because of where you are in the country. But here, my lilac flowers are still only this big. So it's going to be a while before they bloom. So I wanted to let you know, please make sure that you are at least dehydrating up those lilac flowers and the leaves too, and saving them and using what you can fresh, because they do have benefits. And I'll be going over in as much detail as I can in that video. But I wanted to bring up two big ones that I thought you would really appreciate. And one is that I thought this was super interesting, and I actually found this on the NIH, is that lilac has a compound called guanidine, and guanidine is what is used to treat diabetes, and it is what was later then synthesized and used in metformin. I always think, go back to what the original natural ingredient was, because that's going to be healthier for you, and if you can grow it yourself, a lot cheaper to obtain. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing is the flowers are high in lutein, and that is excellent for eye health. And so you can find that pretty high in the flowers. That's going to help prevent or reverse glaucoma, cataracts, and macular degeneration. So start using those lilac flowers, or at least dehydrating them up. And again, the leaves too. The leaves have medicinal benefits too, as does the bark. And now to the calendula. So something I did not know or was misinformed of when I shot that video about 3 years ago about the benefits of calendula, I had read, and this is one of the reasons why I don't get all my information from one source anymore. I look at natural-based websites, but I also look at the scientific ones, even the .gov ones, like the NIH, and also medical-based sites, because if you combine all the information together from these different sites, you're going to get the best rounded information, because not every place is going to give you all the facts or even the correct facts. So years ago, I had read that you could eat the calendula flowers, but not the leaves. And it seems like I even read that the leaves were toxic. Well, come to find out, that is not true. It was because a subscriber told me that actually you can eat the leaves, and I do all the time. I add them to this, that, and the other thing. And I was surprised. And so I finally got around to looking into it. And it was harder to find the information on the leaves. Most of what you find is only on the flowers. But it is correct. The leaves are indeed edible, and some people will use them in sautés. They're kind of more of a spicy flavor. The flavor of them reminds me more of a standard marigold flower. Now, marigolds and calendula are closely related, but they're not the same thing. Some people think they are, but they're not. Because calendula is often called pot marigold, but all you have to do is look at them and you can see they're very different plants. And the calendula flower and the marigold flower have a very different flavor to them. And I don't like the flavor of marigold flowers as much, but that's what the leaves of the calendula remind me of. But I do think if I was to saute them up, they would probably taste pretty good in a dish. Or even added to a salad mixed in with other things. I think I would enjoy the flavor then. But by itself, it's just eh. But anyway, yes, you can actually use those calendula leaves. So just another example, again, even just from what I say, you go back and watch all my old videos or any of my videos, I could very likely have a fact here and there that is incorrect because the source I got it from was incorrect. So that's why I always encourage people to do your own research. Don't just trust me, and certainly don't just trust one website, even if it's one that you've trusted for years and they're good people and you know they're being honest with you. They could have got bad information and shared that. So, and then we also know certain other websites can be highly controlled by big pharma and big gov and all that. So we got to kind of take some of that stuff with a grain of salt. So when they poo-poo certain things and say, oh, you should never do this, look further into it and make sure that's true, because I have found a lot of great information on the NIH.gov in regards to many medicinal herbs and their uses. That is very surprising, including the benefits of honeysuckle when it comes to the current virus that we've all been living in fear of for the past couple of years. That's very promising. They did some studies on that, and it shows that it is indeed helpful at helping to recover from it. All right, now some other questions I want to cover is, we had the shipping container video come out this last Wednesday, and I did do a video that I had shot that came out before that one where I mentioned the shipping container and its purpose, and so sometimes I forget which video what was said in. So I had a lot of people were asking what it was for. Well, first of all, it was just a good deal, but because Patrick has the sawmill, the Wood Miser, some of you know that, we've had it for maybe 2 years now, and he has several videos out on that. Well, he does saw up a lot of his own lumber and things to make products. Some of it's stuff to go on our store, some of it's to make stuff for our own personal use and to build various things. And he needs a dry place to store the lumber, and so that was one of the reasons for the shipping container. So that's what he's going to use it for initially, but it's also a backup for whatever else we need it for, any other type of storage or whatever. It could be something we eventually move onto that third piece of property outside of town. But we've got it. We got a good price on it. Thankfully, both of the shipping containers we were able to find for really excellent deals, and to find them locally, and to be able to go get them and bring them over ourselves and save us a ton of money by doing that. So it's just, you know, a lot of people wonder, how do you get such great deals? Well, Patrick spends a lot of time hunting these things down. It's just like looking for property. That's something we had been doing for probably about 20 years or more. And it's only been in the past few years that we were able to finally get a couple of pieces. The one just down the road from us that is a shy acre, and then the 6-acre piece outside of town. It can sometimes take a long time and a lot of patience and a lot of hunting to find what you're looking for, but don't give up just because you don't find it after a couple of days of looking. Just keep coming back to it if it's something you believe that you really need. And if you're a Christian, keep praying about it too, because I believe that if we keep praying and it is right for us, then God's going to lead us to where we need to be to find that particular thing. So yeah, don't give up. Just keep looking and keep praying, or whatever you need to do. And when the timing is right, I believe things do fall into place, just like they did for us. Because let me go back just a little bit. Years ago, when we were first looking at property, we were looking in a couple of totally different places that we thought we were going to eventually move to. Well, we never found the property thing, and when we thought we did, it would fall through. And come to find out, we were not supposed to go to either of those places anyway. We were supposed to stay here. And for now, we're still staying here. Besides, we have grandbabies. Oh, by the way, my daughter-in-law is expecting any second right now. Any second. And so I got to be on call because they asked me to be in the hospital room with them. So maybe even by the time this video comes out, that baby might be born, which you'd probably find out in a community post if it has. A couple more things I want to talk about before I finish out this video is that I'm still dehydrating up my eggs from my chickens. Usually I would sell a bunch of them, but I decided because of the way things are going out there, I'd rather have a lot of eggs in storage. Right now, this is the most recent one. I dehydrated and vacuum sealed up into a jar. And I'll put the video on how I do that in the description box down below. This is my 5th jar. And I think I'm going to do at least one more. That's going to give me a gallon and a half of egg powder. And there's approximately 30 eggs in there. That's quite a bit of eggs. And the reason I like dehydrating rather than doing the water glass or the lime water method, they're similar, but they're 2 different things. There's a reason why they're not both called water glass, by the way, because water glass is the chemical that's used in the one method and lime is the one used in the other method. But anyway, those are great. And I've never tried it, but I've never wanted to because I know it takes up a whole bunch of space. So this takes up far less space and has at least as many uses as those do. And other than you can't really do a fried egg with it and have it all whole, but you can make a lot of scrambled eggs, you can make quiche, and you can use them in baking. I'm very happy with these. I've been using them quite a bit. And I have a video coming out about the rhubarb powder and some other powders, and a couple of things I didn't mention when I was talking about the powders, dehydrating pumpkin and even spaghetti squash and powdering that up because it cooks up beautifully. I've used the dehydrated pumpkin in making pumpkin cookies, and I haven't used it in pumpkin bread, but I've used it in oatmeal. I've used it in making a pumpkin spice flavored coffee. And what else have I used it in? Something else. Pancakes. They're great. It's great in pancakes. And then spaghetti squash, same thing. You can just add water and cook it up and you have a side of squash to go with your meal. And it's really good. I actually like the way it tastes better, both the pumpkin and the spaghetti squash. I think the flavor turns out better once it's been dehydrated, reconstituted, and then cooked. It's really yummy. And then also pepper powder. So I've got some more of my dried Chinese 5-color pepper. I still have more. I got to finish getting the seeds out of from last year. And then I've been powdering it up, and I use this pepper powder on just about everything. I love it. Well, not everything. Obviously, I'm not going to add it to my yogurt, but probably be good in that too. Or even hot chocolate. I think it would be good in hot chocolate. But to me, this is even better than cayenne pepper powder. And that's the Chinese 5-color pepper. And we do sell the seeds to that on our store as well. But I love my Chinese 5-color pepper. I just hope I get some this year because they're still only this big. They're the same size they were about 2 months ago. And even though they're in the greenhouse. So hopefully I'll get peppers out of them this year because I love them so much. But anyway, that's just a couple of more of the things that I powdered. So I didn't mention in that video everything that I do powder up. I'm always experimenting and trying different things to powder up and see how I might use them and finding more and more, just like with the apple powder, I use that more than I do just the dehydrated apples themselves. But anyway, be watching for that video more in depth and how I plan on using those or how I am using those. In that video, they'll be coming out in about 2 weeks. And you can learn more about that. But until then, I'll go ahead and link to the video I did on dehydrating pumpkin and other squash and how you can use it in the description box down below, and any other videos I think of that might be helpful to you. All right, now please share with us down below. Yes, that's the dog grumbling in the background because he thinks Patrick's going to leave. Huh, doggy. Anyway, yeah. But share this down below. What's going on? How's your garden coming? Are you having some of the same struggles that I am having with the cold and getting things to germinate and getting things to grow at all? Or is it opposite? Are you having too much heat and things are bolting? Or what's doing good for you? What are you harvesting? What are you able to do something with? Sometimes it's best just to focus on the positive anyway. We got enough negative coming from a whole bunch of other sources, be it mainstream or alternative. It's always good to sometimes just bring it down and focus on the positive, because if we're always looking at the negative, it's just too much stress on us. We got to look at the things that we know we can do and are working for us and be happy and content with that. Anyway, share with us down below. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.